Hello, welcome to lesson 0.1. This is an introduction to self-paced blended learning in our class. And the lesson objectives are to describe what a self-paced blended learning instructional model looks like in our class, as well as explain how a modern classroom operates with instructional videos, guided notes, practice activities, and mastery checks. In this lesson, we're going to review the purpose of a Unit 0. Why are you doing this type of unit? What a modern classroom is. You're going to hear me use that term many times, how our class will work using this instructional model, the lesson structures that we use with self-paced blended learning, and the technology tools you will be using in this class. So what is a Unit 0? Right now we're in Unit 0. So this is reviewing key skills and information that you need to know for this type of learning. And it teaches you the classroom procedures, the routines, and the student expectation during self-paced learning time, because for most of you, this is a completely new concept. So you get to experience the process of self-paced learning even before we get into any art. So first of all, consider, when you're in a classroom, does everyone learn at the same pace? How does your teacher know if students truly understand the content, right? How do I know if you understand what I'm teaching you? How does your teacher know how you're currently feeling? How does your teacher encourage students to participate in class when the teacher can only call on one student at a time? And how can your teacher give you quality feedback about your learning when there's over 30 students in the classroom? That's the reality. That's like traditional learning in the classroom. That's the type of learning I experienced when I was in high school. And there are challenges with this type of learning that everyone experiences at some point. The reality is, in traditional learning, the teacher teaches to the entire class at the same time, which means some students already understand the information. So this is too easy, right? It's just too easy, and you're kind of bored. And some learners get behind, so then they feel lost, they lose motivation. They might get bored as well because they don't know what's going on. And then some students are absent sometimes. So when you come back to school, you're like, what did I miss? And it can be really hard sometimes for the teacher to re-teach everything when you've been absent for a few days. The reality is, one size does not fit all in education. So with my approach with this type of teaching and learning, to meet every learner's needs, I use videos. This means you can learn anytime, anywhere. I let learners set the pace within realistic timeframes, okay? Within realistic timeframes, but that means you'll have the time that you need. And I focus on mastery, which is to prevent learning gaps. That means I want you to know certain information before you move on to more complex topics. This is going to be different for you, but it does work. And this is actually an instructional model developed by this group called the Modern Classrooms Project. And there are 3 parts, which is blended learning, self-paced, and it's mastery-based. So there's 3 parts. The blended instruction, that means you're accessing the lesson information through videos designed by me. You can watch the instructions again and again, and that also frees me up to work with you one-on-one and have small group discussion. Then there's the self-paced structure, which means you're learning at your own pace within each unit. If you've been absent, if you come in tardy, you just get started. You don't have to wait. And this also develops you into a more self-directed learner. And the third part is mastery-based grading, which means you demonstrate authentic mastery, then you can move on through So why mastery? What does that mean? So mastery does not mean an A. An A is just a letter. It just demonstrates that you have completed this amount of work. Think about it. The grade you receive in a class doesn't truly communicate the information that you have learned or the skills that you have demonstrated. It's just data. That's all it is. So you receive credit for your learning when you've mastered the content for the lesson. And not everyone is going to master the content right away the first time. You can move on to the next lesson after you've demonstrated mastery. If you do not demonstrate mastery on the first attempt, you get to revise until you do. So in our class though, right, this is an art class. So can you demonstrate the required artistic concepts and skills in your completed artwork? Is this evident in the artwork you create? So don't worry, we're still making art. So you have a progress tracker. This is a very important document. It shows you do inside each lesson, the order that you should be doing it for each lesson, as well as the target due dates. Those are very important. That helps you on track. These are the technology tools we'll be using. First of all, we have Canvas. That is what you're using to access the information for lessons, and you'll get feedback from me. You might do some assignments inside Canvas. There are Google Forms. These are your reflections, your surveys, exit tickets possibly. There's Edpuzzle, and that's a format to deliver the lesson content for you in a video. And then we also use GoGuardian. This is so I can monitor your progress while you're using your Chromebook and to make sure you're on task and working on something academic. There are benefits for you with this type of structure. In this class, you can work closely with me because I'm not lecturing at the front of the room anymore. We can talk one-on-one. I can check on specific students. You get to learn anytime, anywhere. You get to watch and rewatch the instructional videos. Obviously, you should be learning in the classroom, not just doing everything at home. You get to collaborate with classmates. Teamwork does support learning, and we get to focus on art making. This also builds your knowledge and confidence as a learner. You can do this. I know this is an art class, so don't worry, not everything will involve a Chromebook. You still have guided notes that you store in your sketchbook for future reference. You might be working with a partner on a practice activity. Practice activities might be on paper, they might be virtual, they might be hands-on with art supplies. Mastery checks might be on paper or hands-on with art supplies because this is an art class. I can run it how I want. You have time to practice with the art supplies and tools. This is very important. You'll be expected to create plans for your artwork on paper. And as I've said, creating art is still the focus for our class. So there is some advice and feedback from last year's students. Now, there are some keys to success with this type of learning. First of all, you need to show initiative by solving your own problems. Use your class time wisely. With this type of learning, it is very easy to not use your class time and then you run out of time. If you find yourself falling behind though, this can happen. Come to study hall. Talk to me, communicate with me. I need to know what's going on so I can better help you. And believe in the power of yet. You don't know a lot of this yet, right? A lot of this stuff in this class is going to be new for you. So you don't know it yet, but it will get there. And be patient. This type of learning is a new process for you. Some students just understand it right away. Other students, it takes some repeating in order to understand, how am I learning with this type?